Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. It's so great to have you here. Today, we're talking about a coffee shop you probably know very well, Starbucks. You see it on almost every corner, right? But how did it actually start? How did one tiny shop become a huge global company? Well, the story is pretty simple, but it's absolutely fascinating. Today, we're going to look at the history of Starbucks, step by step. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. Number 1, the first Starbucks store. Number 2, where the name comes from. Number 3, a new vision for coffee. Number 4, growing around the world. And finally, number 5, the famous siren logo. Part 1. The first Starbucks store, Seattle, Washington in 1971. Let's travel back in time a bit. In 1971, the very first store opened up in Seattle. Then, a man named Howard Schultz joined the company in 1982. A few years after that, in 1987, Schultz actually bought Starbucks, and by 1996, they opened their first store outside of North America. That was in Tokyo, Japan. So they started really small, but man, they grew fast. Now, you know what's really amazing? The people who started this company, they weren't businessmen. No way. They were just three friends who met at the University of San Francisco. We had an English teacher named Jerry Baldwin, a history teacher named Zev Siegel, and a writer named Gordon Boger. These three guys just shared one big passion. They absolutely loved high-quality coffee beans. They learned how to roast beans from a man named Alfred Peet, and they just wanted to share really good coffee with their city. That's it. Part 2. Where the name comes from. The story of Moby Dick. Let me ask you a question directly. Have you ever actually thought about the name? Why is it called Starbucks? It's a really unique word, right? It doesn't sound like a normal coffee word at all. So where did these teachers and writers get the idea? The story here is pretty fun. At first, they almost named the store Cargo House. They also thought about the name Pequod. That's the name of a famous ship in the book Moby Dick. But they decided against it. Instead, they went with Starbuck, which is actually the name of a character in that exact same book. Why? Well, they talked to an expert who told them that words starting with the letters S and T just sound really strong. Plus, the name Starbuck kind of makes you think about the romance and adventure of the sea. And for a store in Seattle, a city right by the water, it was just a perfect fit. Part 3. A new vision for coffee. Howard Schultz's big idea. Now, what's really interesting about this is how different the old Starbucks was. Back in 1971, they didn't sell hot coffee in paper cups at all. They literally only sold roasted coffee beans for people to take home and make themselves. But the new Starbucks, the one we know today, that happened after Howard Schultz visited Italy. He wanted to sell espresso drinks. He wanted to make the store a third place. What does that mean? Well, it's a comfortable place that isn't your home and isn't your office. A place to just sit, use some free Wi-Fi, and relax with friends. This simple idea changed the whole game. And this brilliantly illustrates how Starbucks created its own special culture. When you buy a coffee there, you don't use normal words like small, medium, or large. You use their words. Short is the smallest size, then comes tall. Grande actually means large in Italian. Venti means 20 in Italian because the cup holds 20 ounces. And Trenta means 30. Using this fun Italian vocabulary kind of makes customers feel like they're part of a special, exclusive club. Part 4. Growing around the world, from local to global. So Starbucks actually runs its stores in two different ways. About 51% are operated directly by the company itself. The other 49% are licensed stores. Owning half the stores directly is a huge deal. It lets the company closely watch what we, the customers, actually like. They can spot new trends and see which drinks are a hit. Then they use the licensed stores to help them expand super fast into places like airports, supermarkets, and different countries all over the world. By the year 2018, Starbucks hit a massive number, 27,984 global stores. I mean, they started with just one small store in Seattle selling beans. Now, they're in over 70 countries, Japan, Mexico, the UK, Thailand. Actually, by 2018, there were 336 stores in Thailand alone. It is just incredible to think about how fast they grew to reach a number like that. Part 5. The famous siren logo, the face of Starbucks. Have you ever looked really closely at that famous green cup? The face on it is a siren. So what exactly is a siren? It's a creature from Old Norse mythology, basically a mermaid with two tails. Remember how we talked about the name coming from a book about the sea? Well, the founders wanted their picture to match that whole sea adventure theme. So they picked this two-tailed mermaid from an old picture to be the face of their coffee. Let's move to and see how this builds, because the logo didn't always look like it does today. Back in 1971, the logo was actually brown, not green, and you could see the full body of the mermaid. Then in 1987, they changed it to green to match the new company colors after Howard Schultz bought it. Finally, in 2011, they zoomed right in on her face, giving us the clean, modern logo we all recognize today. So, the crucial point is, even as Starbucks grows and updates its logo, they really try to remember where they came from. Howard Schultz once said, "Starbucks respects and admires the coffee tradition." They work directly with coffee farmers all around the world to make sure they honor the whole history of coffee, right from the small farm all the way to that green cup in your hand. And that brings us to the end of our explainer. We've seen how three friends with a simple love for coffee beans built a brand known across the globe. But think about this for a second. Coffee culture has changed so much since 1971. We order on our phones now, we drink cold brews and sweet green tea drinks. So, what will the coffee shop of the future look like? Will it be totally digital? Will the drinks change entirely? It's a pretty fascinating question to chew on the next time you're sitting in that third place with your coffee. Thanks so much for learning with me today.